Hello and welcome to Bust or Trust, a kids' mystery podcast. I'm Tiernan.
And I'm Athena. Bust or Trust is the podcast where we unravel the world's greatest mysteries with help from you, our chief detectives.
We present all the best evidence and then ask you to decide. Which team are you on?
Are you a myth buster like me?
Or are you a myth truster like me? We look into all sorts of strange stories from around the world. No mystery is too big for us. Like, who tastes cat and dog food to check that it's a new and improved flavour?
Ooh, this might be the only time you could persuade me that werewolves or werecats exist. Because I can't imagine anyone else would want to do it.
Oh, I hope that's it. I like that there's jobs for monsters. Maybe Egyptian mummies can test new types of bandages too. Anyway, we tell you at the end of the show just how to get in touch, so you can let us know if you're on Team Buster or the best one, Team Truster.
So, chief detectives, get ready to take notes and start putting together your case, while we have a quick word with the grown-ups.
The case.
This week's case is all about doppelgangers, which is a person who looks just like you, but they aren't related to you and live their own life.
Yes, and that's exactly why I've brought along my doppelganger, Tiernan, to prove that they're real.
Tiernan, have you just stuck a picture of your face on a balloon?
I certainly have not. Tiernan here is my double. Aren't you, Tiernan?
Yes I am.
If he's your double, why does his body look like you've drawn arms and legs and then stuck them to a pole and then attached it to a balloon?
Well, that is what my body looks like. I just wear really clever clothes. Tiernan, come back!
Help me, Tiernan, I'm floating off.
Oh, I've got you, Tiernan. Here you go.
Phew, thanks, that was close. And obviously, I would float off too, but I wear weighted shoes.
Yeah, sure, okay. Well, how about Tiernan tells us and the chief detectives everything he knows about doppelgangers?
Of course.
Well, a doppelganger is...
Yeah, I'm so sorry to see Tiernan is struggling to talk. It must be very hard to speak when your head is a balloon. I'd better start then.
Thanks, Athena.
Doppelgangers are doubles of people, but not like a twin is. These ones aren't related at all and are often seen as a ghostly or paranormal lookalike of someone. Doppelganger is a German word meaning double walker. And in German mythology, it was said that if you saw someone identical to you in the world, then you would get terrible bad luck.
The idea of someone having a doppelganger, or as it's sometimes known in today's world, a twin stranger, has often been used in fiction. Many stories, films and video games feature an evil or strange lookalike of the main character who appears and causes trouble. Like Wario for Super Mario, to name just one of Mario's many, many doppelgangers. But in real life, a number of people claim to have seen their exact twin stranger too, including some very famous writers. This has led to a number of studies to find out if doppelgangers are indeed real, which, obviously, they are. Aren't they, Tiernan?
Yes, of course.
Now, Tiernan, obviously you aren't used to how this show works. It's up to our chief detectives to decide if doppelgangers are real or not. I can't help but feel that Team Truster is going to feel a bit deflated at the end.
Tiernan found that funny because he's definitely not a balloon. Didn't you, Tiernan?
Can you not bounce your doppelganger off my head, please?
Sorry.
Now, despite being a case about twin strangers, there's 3 very different pieces of evidence to prove that they're real. Time for the first one.
First piece of evidence.
The first piece of evidence is that doppelgangers have been spotted all over the world, and by some very esteemed people. There are quite a few eyewitness accounts through history from those who've seen either another version of themselves or a lookalike of someone they know. One example was in 1893, Victorian England, when a senior naval officer, Vice Admiral Sir George Tryon, was seen walking through the drawing room of his home in London without saying a word to anyone. His wife was holding a party with guests, and they all witnessed him go straight past, seemingly without noticing them. While that might not sound strange at all, it's because the real Admiral was actually at sea at the time. And the very night people thought they saw him at a party, it was also reported that he'd gone down with his ship, the HMS Victoria, after it collided with another ship off the coast of Syria. It's almost as if the Admiral's doppelganger had been sent as a ghostly warning. Very strange and all a bit spooky.
That is such a good way to dodge a party you don't want to be at.
Ha! Though if you had a doppelganger, you could just send them instead anyway. OK, what about this one then? Another well-known doppelganger encounter involves Umberto I, who was king of Italy in the late 1800s. One day, Umberto I was eating in a restaurant when he noticed the owner looked exactly like him. What's even more mysterious is that after talking to him, they both had a number of similarities. They had been born in the same town, on the same day. They'd also both married a woman with the same name. The owner had opened his restaurant on the same day as the king's coronation too. This story has a bizarre ending as well, because the very day that King Umberto I learned that his doppelganger had died in a shooting, he too was killed by an assassin who shot him. The German writer Johann Wolfgang von Goethe was certain he saw a vision of himself coming towards him on horseback. Von Goethe was walking along a road when he saw a man looking exactly like himself, wearing clothes he'd never worn, and the figure disappeared as it approached him. 8 years later, Johann Wolfgang von Goethe was surprised when he found himself wearing those exact same clothes, going down the exact same road on horseback, mimicking all the things he'd seen his doppelganger do. He said, "I now rode along the footpath towards Drossenheim, and here one of the most singular forebodings took possession of me. I saw, not with the eyes of the body, but with those of the mind, my own figure coming towards me on horseback, and on the same road, attired in a dress which I had never worn. It was pike grey with somewhat of gold. As soon as I shook myself out of this dream, the figure had entirely disappeared."
He says he didn't see it with his eyes, but with his mind. So there's every chance that it wasn't a doppelganger, but a dream. Von Goethe's memory many years later might have changed, making him think he was doing exactly the same things as the vision or dream he had. But it's unlikely he was. As for others, our brain has a special area just for understanding and recognizing faces. This is called the fusiform gyrus, and it works very hard to find familiar features that it can identify as being a face. It compares what you're seeing with a mental image of a face that you already know. That means sometimes, on the first time you see someone, it might seem like they look familiar. It's only after getting to know them well that you notice all the differences in their face that make them look unique. It's why people will often say someone reminds them of someone else, or looks just like their brother or sister. They met their brother or sister first, and they are comparing the similar features they have with someone else. In actual fact, they might look very different to each other, but just have the same colour hair. Some people are better at analysing people's faces and patterns than others are, and sometimes head injuries or accidents can mean people don't recognise faces at all. The way that our brain understands how someone looks could well be why Vice Admiral Tryon's family and friends thought they saw him that night, when it could have been someone of similar build with the same colour hair.
But that doesn't explain the coincidences of why Vice Admiral Tryon was seen on the same day his ship sank, or why King Umberto's doppelganger had so many similarities to him.
Coincidences are a real thing too. That's when events that seem like they are linked aren't, and it's just complete chance.
Well, it seems too much of a coincidence to me that all these doppelganger incidents are coincidences. Which is why maybe the second piece of evidence will convince you that it might just look like a coincidence, but it's really a doppelganger masquerading as one.
Second piece of evidence.
The second piece of evidence is that the existence of doppelgangers is known all over the world and has been for many years. In ancient Egyptian mythology, there was a Ka, which is a spirit double that has the same memories and feelings as the person it looks like. In Norse mythology from Scandinavia, there is the Vardagud, a ghostly double seen to perform the person's actions in advance, like Johann Wolfgang von Goethe saw. In Finnish mythology, there is the Etiainen, which does the same thing. Many Muslim countries believe in a Kareen, which is a harmful spirit that looks and acts in similar ways to the person it's attached to. If the person has children, then the Kareen has children who are their spirit doubles. This spirit often tries to persuade people to go through with their bad intentions. So that's evidence that doppelgangers appear all over the world.
Those are all myths though, meaning there is no proof that any of those spirits or doubles of people ever existed. But, like many myths, it's very possible that they came from something real.
Haha, like a doppelganger.
No, Tina, not an actual doppelganger, but it might be from people thinking they've seen their lookalike because of a certain mental health condition. That means an illness or problem that affects how people think and behave. Heotoscopy is a symptom that those with certain mental health illnesses can suffer from, which makes them think they are seeing their own body at a distance. There was a case in 2006 of a man who had damaged part of the left side of his brain, and it made him see 5 doubles of himself. Heotoscopy wasn't fully understood until very recently, so it's thought that it could have caused a number of people who suffer from it to tell others they had seen a doppelganger.
That does sound like a tricky condition to have, and it must be pretty confusing to suddenly see 5 more of yourself. But as you'll see in the final piece of evidence, Athena, it's quite impossible to call a doppelganger an illusion when other people notice them too.
Third piece of evidence.
The final piece of evidence is that a number of people have recently found their doppelgangers online. Some websites can compare people's faces across the internet. And because of this, a British student based in Newcastle was swamped by fans after it turned out she looks exactly like Taylor Swift.
Wow, that's amazing. But I bet Taylor Swift isn't bothered if people say she has a doppelganger.
You don't think so? Why not?
Well, she could just shake it off.
Ha! Well, then there was Canadian music historian who discovered that his identical match featured in a painting at an art gallery in Pasadena. In fact, now the world is so well connected, people finding their lookalikes is becoming more and more common, and a photographer called Francois Brunel has taken 250 portraits since the year 2000 of people who look just like each other. There has been problems with this though, including a Russian woman who was sent to prison for taking her doppelganger's passport and pretending to be her. And in 2018, a German man who'd been convicted of robbery was released as it was found another suspect for the case looked exactly like him. And when standing side by side, the judge couldn't tell them apart. Doppelgangers are real.
You are right, Tiernan. Sometimes people do look very alike. But this isn't because of magic, and they aren't evil spirit doppelgangers. Let me tell you about the science. Doppelgangers are real people, and the similarities they have to someone else are because of genes. Genes are DNA that are passed down through your family from generation to generation. They are responsible for your eye colour, your hair colour, and a number of other ways that your face and body look. Research has shown that people who look alike often share more similar genes than people who don't look like each other. Sometimes their genes are so similar they even behave like each other. Tegan Lucas is an anatomist. That's someone who studies the structures of animals and plants. She analysed the faces of 4,000 people and measured all the distances between their features. For example, from their eyes to their ears and their nose to their mouth. Using this, Lucas calculated the probability of someone having all the same features as someone else, and she said it was less than 1 in a trillion. With 7.4 billion people on Earth, that means you have a tiny chance of meeting your doppelganger. So even though it's great that the people you mentioned have found their lookalikes, it's still very unlikely.
I wish I could find my doppelganger. You know, another one who didn't float away as much as, Wiernan does. We could dress the same and do cool stuff like be in 2 places at the same time, or do synchronised dance moves, and everyone would think they're seeing double.
I don't know. I think it depends on who you look exactly like. It could end up being a really tricky problem.
Hey, Angelica! It's me, Angelica!
Sorry, who are you? And who's Angelica?
What? You're not the famous Hollywood star Angelica Spangles? But you look exactly like her.
No, I'm definitely not. My name's Janet and I work in IT.
Not anymore, you don't. You are a perfect Angelica Spangles lookalike, and that means you're gonna be huge.
Oh, wow. It's like a dream come true. Oh.
Okay, so put on this dress designed by Anton and Donna Donadon, and tonight you're gonna be Angelica Spangles and collect the International Spammy Award for Best Human. Angelica can't be here as she's having an important 72-hour sit in a jacuzzi while eating chips.
Oh, right. Okay, well, this dress is amazing, but this is a lot. Do I have to make a speech or anything?
No, just do a thumbs up, grab the award, and stroll out.
Okay. Here goes.
And the winner is
everyone's favourite Hollywood darling, Angelica Spangles!
Right, I'm loving this job. What's next?
You need to sign autographs for 6,000 fans at this movie convention. Angelica can't be here as she's having a necessary 3 weeks in the Caribbean at a luxury hotel.
Oh, sure. So I just keep signing things? What does her signature look like?
Who cares? Now be careful. Her fans are pretty hyper.
What do you mean?
Get off me! No!
Okay, so today you're doing all of Angelica's stunts.
I'm not sure I'm recovered from the autographs. Oh, those fans, they trampled on me.
What are you talking about? It's Hollywood, baby. All you gotta do is just fling yourself off this balcony, straight off that car roof, and then into that giant inflatable duck that will then explode.
Why can't Angelica do this?
She doesn't want to. She said it's too dangerous and not good for her skin. Wait, why are you wearing face paint? Are you meant to be a tiger?
I don't want to look like Angelica anymore. She sounds awful, and this job is the worst. So I've decided to be a tiger.
You can't do this. You've ruined everything.
I don't care. It's rubbish looking like someone else, and now it won't happen again. Roar.
Oh my gosh, it's legendary tiger Stevie Stripes. Everyone, look.
What? Oh. I always thought that looking like a famous person wouldn't be that great.
Well, that's why I try my best to look exactly the opposite of a glamorous star, and so far, it's going well.
You know who are always big stars, though? Our chief detectives, and now it's time for you to decide. Do doppelgangers exist or not?
Let's recap the evidence.
Evidence recap.
The first piece of evidence is the many sightings of doppelgangers by some very distinguished people. A naval officer was seen at his home in London on the same day he sank with his ship off the coast of Syria. And an Italian king met his doppelganger in a restaurant.
The way our brains work means that often when we first see someone, we are comparing their face to other faces we know. So they might seem like they look like someone you recognise, but once you get to know them, you'll notice all the facial differences they have.
The second piece of evidence is the mythology about doppelgangers from all around the world. Ancient Egypt, Norse mythology, and many Muslim countries all believed in evil spirits that looked like the person they were troubling.
These are all just myths, but they might be based on the mental health conditions some people really do have, which can make them see themselves a distance away from where they are.
The final piece of evidence is the many people who've been able to find their doppelganger by searching online. One person found they looked just like Taylor Swift.
People can look alike, but this is because of genes and not magical spirits. DNA passed down through generations can affect how you look and behave. Some people just happen to share more of these genes than others, meaning they look very similar to each other. But the chances of meeting your lookalike are still very slim.
So now we're handing it over to you, Chief Detectives.
What do you think? Are you a doppelganger mythbuster?
Or a doppelganger myth truster? Get in touch and let us know your thoughts, and most importantly, which side you're on. I think this case is a doppelganger, as it looks alike a Team Truster win.
That's funny. I don't need the Chief Detectives to be my doppelganger to know they'll act like me and vote Team Buster. Send us your voice notes with an explanation of why you're a myth truster or mythbuster when it comes to whether doppelgangers are real or not.
All you have to do is ask your grown-ups to help you email us your voice notes or thoughts to hello@bustortrust.com.
Tell us your name, age, what you think all the evidence means, and please make sure your grown-ups give us permission to use your voice notes or emails in our next episode.
You can also send us a question on Spotify Q&A, but please get permission from your parents and don't include any personal details so that we can publish them safely. We won't always be able to use all of them.
But we do love to hear them, and here are some thoughts from you lot, our Chief Detectives, on the last few episodes.
My name is Emil, and I'm 6 years old. I'm a buster on Stonehenge, but I'm a truster on all the rest. Stonehenge could just be an art gallery with only one piece of art. And also, I'm a lion.
Emil, wow. Well, we've never had a lion listen before. This is incredible. I mean, you must be our first ever lion listener. Thanks for writing in. And I don't know how I suppose you'd had to do a message. Hard to write with pause. Anyway, Emil, thank you for being a truster in all the other episodes. And maybe you're right with Stonehenge. Maybe it's just one giant, very minimalist art gallery with one big piece that everyone comes to see. I love that idea that people drag stones for miles for art.
Yeah, and I liked his main point. Lion's main point.
My name is Hazel. I'm 5 years old and I live in New Zealand and, I'm a mythbuster for Drury Lane Theatre and, I think that someone was just standing outside of a TV room and then just switching it to a different channel because they wanted to, and I think that this will be great. Something was chomping on my garden, and I think that will be a great bust of trust because it's such a mystery.
Hazel, wow, listen, thank you for examining the evidence on the ghosts of Drury Lane. And, even though you're on Team Buster, I can see you've really thought about this. And maybe it is just someone in the other room with a remote control. That'd be so annoying. It'd be really annoying. So I hope you haven't done that to your neighbours, even though it might be quite funny. And wow, what is chomping on your garden? This is a mystery I think we need to look into. Could it be some sort of strange grass-eating alien or monster, or maybe a rabbit?
We know what it is, Tiernan. It's a bear. It's always a bear. It's a bear. You've got a bear in your garden.
We have had an email from Claire about our Devil's Footprints episode. And she says, my son Liam, age 9, liked this, but is on the fence whether to bust or trust it. Well, firstly, Liam, get off the fence. Go and sit on a sofa. It'd be way more comfortable. And obviously, as you probably guessed, I would say trust it.
Nah, the Buster sofa's way more comfy. We've got cushions. Willow has sent us an email after listening to our live episode about dragons. My name is Willow. I came to your live show. I'm writing about dragons. Sorry, Athena, I'm normally a buster, but I have to do a little bit of trusting because someone researched dinosaurs and T-Rexes had wings and hollow bones. Their small arms are similar to ostrich arms, and birds have hollow bones allowing them to fly. I don't think they could breathe fire. Shout out to Chief Detectives Woody and Freya, who I met at the show. Also, I love your new book, Athena. If there was ever a way to get away with being a truster, it's to say you love my new book.
Oh, Willow, that's so cool you're reading Athena's book. And also so cool you met other chief detectives. There's a little chief detective community out there, and I am for that.
They might start their own podcast, Tiernan.
Uh-oh. Okay, we have had an email from Toby about our episode on Jabbar Fofi, the giant spider, which is the worst thing in the world. And Toby says, I think that Jabbar Fofi can survive where humans can't and is hiding. Well, do you know what, Toby? As much as I'm pleased you're a truster, that is the worst news for me because I hate spiders and I really don't want it to be hiding anywhere.
Our listeners are brilliant. We make a fantastic team.
The absolute best. And if you enjoyed the show, please follow us on Apple Podcasts, Spotify or Amazon Music or wherever you listen to your podcasts for more great episodes.
We love to hear what you think. So please do rate and review us on Apple Podcasts and Spotify. It helps more detectives find, bust or trust. And of course, we'll read out some of your comments on the show.
Plus, if you pay to subscribe to Bust or Trust on Apple Podcasts or our patreon.com/Bust or Trust page, then you get to hear all of our bonus episodes, get our weekly newsletter, monthly colouring sheets, and we'll also give you a shout out on the show too.
Thanks for listening. We'll see you next time for more Bust or Trust. You know, Tiernan, I think Wiernan did a really good job of hosting this week. Maybe he should replace you for Team Truster.
What do you mean? Wiernan? How could you betray me like that?
Goodbye.
Oh no, your doppelganger looks a bit deflated, Tiernan. Did you pop him on purpose?
There can be only one Tiernan, Athena. There can be only one.